Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with the reading for the Virgo full moon. Let's just jump into pulling some cards. I'm gonna pull one overall energy from the Mystical Shaman Oracle card deck. And then let's see what comes through. Wow, okay. That's funny. The cards that came through is the Seer together with the lower world. So this meant something specifically to me in this moment, I felt, because right before I started the recording of this reading, I had this vision of something that's going on within the lower world, or the kind of the lower levels of the astral at this point in time. And what I saw was that we have moved into a quantum state within the lower levels of the astral. And what this really means to my perception, like how I'm reading this, is that everything is really opening up to us right now. There are so many possibilities for us as individuals within each moment right now, if we're just able to see them. So if we're kind of stuck inside old mindsets, old thoughts, old archetypes, and we're spinning in the same cycles that we have been spinning, throughout our lives, then we might not see all the possibilities that are actually open right now. And so I feel that it's so important to create space within our lives to see the world with new eyes. It's really a time of awakening, of stepping out of the old molds, thinking new thoughts, exposing yourself to new things, and just really, I feel like opening our wings, kind of opening up. Underneath the deck was also the hummingbird. And so I feel like there is a lot of sweetness and a lot of blessings and a lot of abundance for those that are able to see it and choose it and believe that you're worth it. If you can do that, then there is so much beauty to be kind of pulled in right now. So wow, and underneath there was actually also the beauty way. So it's like there are a lot of gifts coming in for us, but the problem is that most people are really getting more and more attracted and spinning more and more into these cycles of war. So let's also pull some tarot cards and see what more messages I'm gonna share in this video. I feel like some of you might be afraid that you are not going to be able to see it. And in my experience, that's something that everyone goes through when they're starting to open their seeing abilities, you know what I mean? It's like when we're starting to open to that energy, it's so normal that our egos just freak out, and it's like the ego begins to try. It begins to overanalyze and to try so hard and to try to figure out, how can I see? And my best tip for that is to simply observe all of this frenzy that's happening within yourself, all of this fear energy. Just observe it and just know that this is just one part of your being. This is not all that you are. And by observing this, this fear and this frenzy, that's actually how you begin to build your I. Because your I is the part of you that can see. You know, it's the part of you that observes the kind of the lower vibrations within yourself. And so the more you kind of practice observing and accepting your fear, the more you build that part of yourself that can actually overcome the fear, you know, the part of yourself that can see and understand and heal the fear. And so actually, if you're feeling a lot of fear and if you're feeling a lot of doubt around your capabilities of seeing, this in and of itself is kind of like it's a gift, it's a blessing. Begin to observe that fear and you automatically begin to strengthen your gifts. At least that's my experience. You know, there's a blessing in everything if we're just willing to see it from that perspective. How can I use this to expand further? How can I use this to connect more deeply to my higher self, to my soul, you know, to the highest good of all? That's kind of like a powerful, I feel very powerful way of looking at things right now. So a card flew out. Underneath the deck was the Ace of Cups. Wow, and the card that came out was the Three of Swords. So Ace of Cups and Three of Swords. I actually feel like, again, that there is a lot of healing energies available right now. And I feel like it comes, the Hierophant is here as well. And in this deck, the Hierophant is a crow. So the crow is kind of like the energy of the dark feminine, I feel. Is the energy of death. Lower world as well, I feel. And it's the type of energy that digests things. You know, it's the type of energy that is able to break things apart. And this is part of how we grow as spiritual beings. If we're able to begin to digest things, understand things, you know, like I talked about, observing our fear and then picking it apart, seeing like where is it stemming from, this frenzied voice that I hear. What is the characteristics of that voice? Because the thing is, when you begin to do that type of work of digesting kind of your own mind, you begin to see that these voices inside your head that we call thoughts, they are not actually stemming from you. A lot of the times these are what I would call programs. They are archetypes. They are specific behaviors that belongs to specific times. And that's why we can see that different times throughout history, they've had, you know, very different dynamics that they were exploring. It's because of these archetypes. And so part of our spiritual awakening is learning how to understand these archetypes and recognize them when they try to play themselves out through us. And that's really, I feel, what changes, has the potential to change our destiny a lot. So let's pull one more card here. Because many of these archetypes, you know, they are predestined to certain things. That's the thing about the universe. Nothing is random. Everything is about cause and effect. And so if you can understand the archetypes, then you can see why they are in a way bound to behave in certain ways. You know, they are bound to feel certain feelings. And so the only way out of that is kind of understanding that, hey, this is not me. Like, this is a program. These feelings, they are a part of a program that belongs to, you know, the collective unconscious. It belongs to the spirit of my time. But it's not necessarily all that you are. Ace of Pentacles. So like I said, a lot of potential for new opportunities here. Ace of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. Underneath the deck this time was the Father of Swords. He's very awake, the Father of Swords. You know, he's very sharp, very bright. He can digest a lot of things as well in the similar way as the Hierophant. I feel like in this case these two are almost like a couple. You know, the dark feminine and then the sharp masculine. He's like sharp and bright, and she's like dark and vicious. You know, she fears nothing. She's just like, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna see what it is. So I feel like there's also something about, you know, at this time, also learning about the power of taking on dark energies ourselves and using them in a spiritual way. You know, I think that sometimes in the spiritual community, you know, there is a lot of talk about love and light and to be good, and that's like, I love that, you know, that's really my heart. I love that. That's wonderful. But the thing is that if we are not able, if we don't have it within ourselves to actually be dark and evil, then being love and light, you know, it's not a choice. It's not a choice that we have made. It's something we are bound to. It's something that we are enslaved to. And so it's really a part of our spiritual liberation, you know, a part of awakening our free will. To also, and this is where we have to be careful, you know, carefully build our own ability to also invoke the dark. Because the dark, you know, the dark energies that we will see a lot of now coming up in our collective sphere. Many people will be entrapped and enticed by the dark because the dark is very addictive. You know, especially if you feel like a victim, or if you feel like you are not seen, if you feel like you have been done wrong in some way. If you actually lack a little bit of self-worth, then the feeling of the dark, ooh, it's like a drug. And so it's something to be aware of. You know, it's something to reflect upon. Again, really noticing the different types of energies that are at play here within our collective, within your own emotional body, and begin to digest them. Understand them, see their patterns. The more we can do that, the less we have to fear. Because if we understand something, we know how to handle it. We know when it's dangerous. We know when to step back. We know when to create separation. And we know when we can move in and change things and transform things. And so fear kind of becomes like a wasted feeling. You know, the body doesn't spend its resources on it. And so I feel like we're not quite there collectively where we are able to move above fear completely. I feel like we're actually going into a period where we will feel a lot of fear because we are learning how to overcome that feeling by understanding, expanding our eye, growing our light, seeing into things that we were previously running from, you know, looking into energies that previously used to overwhelm us. That's what I feel right now. But then also so important to balance that kind of hardcore spiritual work. It's like the dark spiritual path. Balance that out with moments of just like pure innocence, you know, lightness, sweetness, childlike play. That's what I feel is kind of the advice here, because underneath the deck, again, I don't know, yeah, it was the Father of Swords, and then underneath the Father of Swords is the Fool. So this like lightness of being, this surrendered state, cultivating this surrendered state. Is what I feel can help us to become kind of lighter and not so dense and not so materially focused, because, you know, like I started the reading with, there seems to be so many opportunities right now within each moment, and if we are only focused on the material things, if we're only able to see reality through the mind that we have already manifested, then we're not going to see the paths that lead into the new. You know, we're just going to be spinning in the old cycles. And so take your time to observe your old mind, and how there is always a tendency within that old mind to do the same thing over and over, to think the same thoughts over and over. But really digesting and understanding these thoughts is what helps us to build the part of ourselves that is able to overcome them. You know, the part of ourselves that is able to overcome that old karma. So I'm gonna end the reading there, guys. I hope that you are safe and that you're okay. Take care of yourself. Goodbye for now.